Hi, I'm Ann Marin, and I'm here today to help you through the process of painting a watercolour landscape. I'd like to thank the NorVA Centre and the Government of Manitoba and their Safe at Home grant, and all of you for watching. Okay, here I have an example of the watercolour we're going to do today, or it'll be something like this. No two are ever the same. And hopefully you got your kit of supplies from NorVA. There's 12 paints. You might think it doesn't look like a lot, but this will go a long, long way. We're only going to use 3 of these today. We'll use Payne's Grey and the Ultramarine and Alizarin Crimson. And that's all that went into making this painting. And you'll also have some brushes and a piece of paper. My piece of paper is taped down to my board already. This helps when you add water or stop your paper becoming wavy and getting out of control. And the first thing we're going to do with this is to make a sketch. And before you say you don't draw, this is the simplest sketch that you can make. You start with the horizon, and for horizons, our eyes are uncomfortable if it runs right in the middle of a painting. So you either go up towards the top third or the bottom third. For this, we're going to come down into the bottom third. Don't be shy of using a ruler. If that makes you more comfortable, use the ruler, get a straight horizon. Now, I'm drawing pretty dark here, way more than you would do. Keep it light, and then you don't worry about it when you're painting. But in watercolor, it is acceptable to see pencil lines when you're done. Now that's our horizon. We are going to put a landmass in behind the horizon, like that. And that's all of that part of the painting done. And in the front, we're going to have some land, maybe like that, and some trees. Whoops. And that is the total of the drawing. Now you'll notice I can't draw a straight line, and that's fine. You'll see as we go along, that will all work in. Okay, the first thing we need to do, we're going to work wet and wet, and that means that your paper needs to be wet. I'm using a bigger brush here just to make it quicker. And giving an even coat all over the paper. You want to get your whole paper wet so that you can see a shine on it, but you don't want any puddles sitting in there. Another option, if you have it handy, is to use a spray bottle and just spritz your paper. I've got a puddle over there, so I'm just going to wipe it off there. I'm going to start with the ultramarine blue and start to put in some sky. Now, it looks dark and it looks drastic, but as watercolors dry, they dry maybe a third lighter than you put them on here. So as dark as it looks, it's not going to look like that once you get it dry. Just smooth up some edges here and just set the paint in there and let it do what it's going to do in the water. Now I'm moving to the crimson, and I'm going to add some red into that sky. Some places it touches the blue and starts to work together, and that's just fine. We'll bring the red in down towards the horizon here. My paper dried a little, so I'm going to throw some extra water on there. Any places I can see some hard edges, I just dab with a little extra water. Okay, now I'm going to come down, oh, and I've got some leftover paint there, that's fine. come down into the water and echo the sky. So give it some red. And give it some touches of the blue. I don't like that hard line up there, so I'm just going to adjust it a little. And there. Now what we need to do is for it to dry. Our choices are two. You go away and have coffee, maybe a cinnamon bun, or you take your hairdryer to it and get it done quickly. And that's what I'm going to go do right now. Now, once you're done drying, it's a good idea to check if you just lightly touch. If your paper feels cold, you still have some damp in there, and you should probably dry it some more before you continue. If it feels room temperature, you're good to go. Okay, now I'm going to mix some colors here. I've got some of the Payne's Gray and the blue, and I'm going to mix them together. And it'll make a nice gray. Payne's Gray on its own is a little hard, so I'm going to mix some blue in it. There we go. I've got a rag here that I can take excess off my brush. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a background spit of land here. Now, I want there to be a hint of there are trees growing here. I'm thinking this is local. Every piece of land has trees. And you can see my tree shapes are not particularly tree shaped. Just give an uneven edge up there, and your brain will say there are trees in the background. The one thing you want to avoid is making them all the same and too regular. Keep some closer, some further. The odd tall one is just fine. And then I'm just putting in the rest of the land underneath it. Coming out to the point here. A few spots I don't necessarily like, so just go back in and add a couple more trees. And there it is. I don't like that part there. Fix it. And that is our piece of land. Now I'm going to add some reflections in the water underneath that. And for that, I'm just going to use a slightly more watered down version of what I was using up there. I don't have enough blue in it. There. Now, you don't need to exactly copy what you did up here to make your reflection. You just give a hint of what would be shown in the water. I'm leaving a touch of the light closer to the shore to suggest that maybe the shore's damp and there is light hitting there. And I'm making the reflections in little lines, so maybe some ripples in the water are causing that. And just as easy as that, we get the reflections. And you know you're looking at water. I'm just using a round brush to do this. There's nothing fancy. There. I think I'm happy with that, and I'm going to leave it that way. Now this area is wet, and rather than run away and dry it again, I'm going to come right down on this area. And I'm still working with the same sort of colour, some Payne's grey with some extra blue mixed into it. And I'm just going to put in first a rough outline of the shape of the land down here. Just like that. Don't worry if it doesn't look perfect, we're going to mess with it some more anyway. And there we go. Okay. Now, for the next part I'm going to use one of my great tools, which is a piece of credit card. You can use a fingernail if you have fingernails, but I don't, so I use the card. What I'm going to do is pick up some grasses and put them in down here. Just little scrapes of grass like that. I only have my paint wet enough. There we go. Just pick them right up out of the painting and flick. And there they are. Now the part with the credit card. Take the card and just scrape up. And that will add some highlighted grasses in there. If you don't like some of what you've done, you just want to add more variety in there, just go back in and flick with some more paint. And there we go. We have a little grassy spot at the front. I feel like I need to flick a little there. There we go. Now you can see over here I managed to splatter some water on there. Not so cool, but we can fix. There. I've got one in here too, but I'm going to lose it when I flick in my trees. And I think we're ready for the trees. Okay, again, we're working with the same color. More of the blue and the Payne's grey mixed together. And, okay. Trees do not grow straight. We all know that. Also, they don't look like they came out of a Christmas tree box. They're not perfect. You can see I'm just dotting in the tip of the brush here. At the top of the tree, The branches tend to be clumped and stick up more. And then as we work down, they will start to sag down more. You can see all I'm doing is little dabs with the brush. Anybody can do this. Just remember, don't make it even. Leave gaps. As I was told, whenever you paint a tree, leave a room for the birds. Birds need to be able to fly through your tree and find a spot to land. Yeah, as you can see, that goes in really fast. You can take your time and make your tree your tree. You also don't have to worry about every branch being perfectly connected. When someone looks at it, they will see tree. They won't worry about this piece isn't connected exactly to that one. You give the impression of a tree, and that's all it needs. Yeah. I feel like this one needs to be a little clumpier in there. Okay. Nice friend in here, this tree. Don't think about painting in between it over which one's in front of which. Just think about the tree that you're painting right now and take the branches right out into the other one. To give him a bit of a better shaped trunk at the bottom there. You can see some variations in the color of my paint maybe, and that's just fine too. Okay, and I'm going to put a third one in right up here. Sort of aim for the pencil marks. There we go. You can see none of these are taking me very long to paint in. Super easy and super fast. I think I'll leave a gap there where it looks. You can see I'm going right over whatever's in the background. Little tiny dabs all the way through. And just like that, we have 3 trees going. I'm going to take the credit card again and in just a few spots, scratch into the trunk. Or maybe there's a hint of light hitting. too much. Yeah. We are almost done. Okay, and to finish up, I'm just going to add a little bit more in the foreground here. I'm going to darken up the ground around my trees so they're planted solidly, like that. And I think I'm going to add a scrappy little branch in here. There we go. And a few tiny little hints of grass. And beyond that, I think it's just messing and probably making things worse. There, I think I'm going to call that done. I hope everybody had fun today and that you can accomplish this watercolor at home. I'm sure you can. I'd like you to encourage everybody to continue painting, expand on the skills you've learnt today, and share with us your results on Instagram or Facebook or the NorVA social media. And everybody stay safe. Thank you.